Well, I've changed a few things with how I am going about 3D printing here, and I thought I'd spend a few minutes to share that with you. Coming up next. Well, hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. I have a couple of videos here for you guys prior to starting my next project. They both have to do with 3D printing. This first video is going to be a quick update of what I'm doing with 3D printing here, and then next week I will be interviewing Stephen Burns for the channel, and I'll go into that in more detail at the end of this video. So just to get you caught up here again, I purchased a Saturn Ultra 4 printer at the end of last year, and this printer is a departure in design from the previous ones I've been using, which was a Saturn 8K and then prior to that a Saturn 4K, both of which were really the same machine except the resolution was different. And those machines had a hood that would rest onto the base, and that did a really good job keeping things enclosed, and I didn't have any problems with fumes escaping, which is what I'm going to be talking about here. So the Ultra 4 now has a hinged lid, and because of this it creates open areas at the top and along the sides, and I really do think that's where the fumes are coming from. Now, I've had a few people tell me they've not had any issues with this at all, and yet I've had others tell me they've had the exact same problem. In fact, my friend the Mediocre Modeler just purchased the same printer, although he purchased the latest rendition, which is not a 12K, but I think 14K if I'm correct. Either way, it just has a little bit resolution, a little bit better resolution I should say, and he noticed the problem almost right away. Now, earlier this year I posted a video about an enclosure I purchased for the printer, and I thought that solved the problem, but unfortunately as I continued to print I was still getting leakage of fumes, and I am convinced it's not to do with the tent but more to do with my ventilation system, because it just wasn't airtight. No matter how hard I tried, I would still get fumes escaping. So what I finally decided to do was to move the entire thing outdoors into a shed that I purchased from Wayfair. So if you recall now, my printer was here, and I moved the workstation and cure station to this desk over on this side, but now that it's gone, it's opened up a wider area here for my workbench, and I've been able to put my compressor now on the back side of the workbench, so it's nice to have a little more space here now. Alright, what I'd like to do here is take a few minutes just to show you the setup, so let's go outside and take a look at it, and I will also take a few minutes to update you on my workflow and to show you what I do when I process a print. Let's go ahead and take a look. So this is a shed now that I purchased from Wayfair.com for just under $500. It measures 4 by 6 feet. I had originally planned on getting a larger one, but space constraints in the area that I was placing it in limited my options. The shed was easy to assemble, and the instructions indicated you could put it together in about 2 hours with the help of someone else. My wife did help when it came to connecting the walls, but the rest I did on my own. So let's take a look inside. The printer, wash, and cure station were placed on a 12 by 36 by 34 high aluminum table, and I bought that from Amazon. And as you notice, I have a few things mounted on the walls. You can't really mount anything heavy onto these walls, but these lightweight attachments and holders were perfect to allow easy access to a paper towel roll and a few tools. A friend of mine who is an electrician was kind enough to set the shed up for electricity. I purchased this overhead LED light from Harbor Freight, and I also have 2 battery-powered motion-activated lights mounted to each of the sidewalls as well. So you can see the printer is still inside the enclosure, and the shed comes with 2 ventilation openings, and to one of them I attached the duct tubing that came with the enclosure. A small fan draws air and fumes from within the enclosure and blows them out through the tubing. And as you can see, the rinsing and curing stations are on the shelf below the printer, and I should note that I'm no longer using alcohol for the rinsing process. I have replaced it with a 50-50 mix of mean green and water, which works quite well. And over here is a small cabinet which holds extra resin and a small spray bottle of alcohol, along with some other containers. And this here is of course my respirator mask. So just a quick run through of my process. I of course begin by removing the build plate from the printer and removing the prints. The prints are then placed into a vat of 91% alcohol and swished around for a few minutes, which helps to clear off some of the resin. Next, they're placed into the wash station for a 10-minute cycle. Sometimes I can remove the supports without doing this, but I do find it helpful in a lot of cases to use warm to hot water to detach the supports from the print. Once dried, they're placed in the curing station. Well, just a few things before I wrap up here. I don't mean to be too long-winded about any of this stuff, so just bear with me. First of all, I want to mention and give a big thanks to Kenny Conklin and Omar Baez, two friends of mine who suggested this whole idea of substituting the alcohol with mean green and water. I've tried other alternatives in the past to alcohol, and this stuff really works well. I'm very pleased with it. The step that I took to put the prints in that alcohol bath prior to using the mean green was suggested by them as well. It's not 100% necessary, but they felt it was a good way to kickstart the process. It gets initially a lot of that resin off the prints, and it also will help stretch the lifespan of that solution mix that's in your rinsing station a little bit longer. The alcohol doesn't need to remain clean. It can get fairly dirty. In fact, I reuse that alcohol quite a bit before I dump it. But I do agree with him. I think that's a great way to kickstart the whole process. Now, secondly, I want to mention that I'm not implying that the Elegoo is a bad printer. In fact, it's a great printer. I've had nothing but success with it, just as I've had with the other Elegoo products. That's why I chose Elegoo again. But I am disappointed that they couldn't have figured out a better way to contain the fumes. And it really was just something I just wasn't very comfortable with. So it's something that's made me rethink if I were to upgrade to another printer, which is going to be some time. This is going to last me quite a bit of time. I seriously will think about probably Anycubic or another brand. I just have to do a bit of research, and certainly it'll depend on what's available at that time. But it is something I'll definitely heavily consider before buying another machine. Lastly, this to me is all about safety. I realize I'm in a very unique position in which, first of all, I have a place to put the printer outside and to set up a shed like this. Secondly, I live in a temperate climate, so I don't have to worry about temperature extremes affecting the printing process. But really, in the end, it came to how comfortable I felt with the situation. It's a shame that my ventilation system wasn't working any better, but in the end, I feel much more comfortable with this. And it's something, though, that just underscores a subject that I don't think is really spoken a lot about, and that is the exposure to the chemicals and fumes and vapors like this that unfortunately are a byproduct of the whole printing process with resin and liquid resin. It's a fun hobby. It's a fun thing to add to our hobby, but we just want to, of course, approach it with the safety protocols that we should. All right, guys. Well, let me go ahead and wrap up by mentioning a few words about my upcoming interview with Stephen Burns. So he's a guy who's, first of all, a very accomplished photographer. He teaches photography workshops throughout the country. He teaches courses about Photoshop and how to incorporate that into your photography. But he's also gotten into teaching courses about how to design things for 3D printing. He's actually taught this course several times now at Wonderfest. It's quite a success. A lot of people are very interested in it and get a lot from it. And it turns out that he lives only about 20 minutes away from me up the coast here. So in this interview, we're going to actually be using the Proteus that he designed. This is that little submarine now that Ken Spriggs used in that little diorama he did for Wonderfest. And he's going to actually talk about how he designed the whole thing from the beginning to generating an STL file for printing. So I think you'll find this interesting. So stay tuned for the interview. I'm going to get together with him this weekend and hope to have it on the channel in the next week or so. All right, guys. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you then in the next video. Take care.